Welcome to Dealing with Feelings. We are now doing a weekly Friday feeling video to help teachers, students, parents learn how to express their feelings. And we're looking at these I statements through the lens of the children's book series, I Feel When. And today we have Dr. Jim Porter, who is my husband, helping me look at the children's books that I'm writing in a therapeutic counseling view so that we can put together a really sound children's book series that will help children when they're beginning to read use I statements. Welcome to the Dealing with Feelings show, where we deal with how we feel on Fridays with Dr. Jim Porter, my husband, and Karen Porter, me. And we are going to be working together on talking about different feelings. And today we've chosen the feeling of disgust. And ew. So we've been talking about, I'm writing these books called I Feel When books. And they are beginning basal readers that help children who are beginning to learn how to read to also learn how to use what we call I care language. And it's also known as, what do you call it? Marshall Rosenberg.
Yeah, the principles, a lot of them come from, are included in Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication, and they call it NVC, the Harvard Negotiation Project. And there are so many sort of shapes of this that have been done by different people. But it does have to do with the concept of, instead of doing zero-sum arguing and fighting, let's talk about what's really at stake, what's really going on inside each human, and that sort of thing. But yeah, nonviolent communication was one of my first introductions to it. So was the book Getting to Yes, and I forget the name of the authors.
So what I did was I just took this one, I looked at all the feeling words I could think of, and then I wrote an I care statement. I feel blank when you blank. And this book is modeled after I feel disgusted when you don't blow your nose. And meanwhile, Keb has a runny nose, as you can see. Leb said, I cannot run now. Keb said, can you sing with me? And he doesn't want to sing with him. Keb said, can you play ball with me? Come play now. And Leb is looking at him like, ew. Please blow your nose, Leb said. Leb said, here you go, you can blow your nose. Leb said, I feel disgusted when you won't blow your nose. And then Keb says, but I feel sad when my nose won't stop running. And Leb said, I cannot play. I feel disgusted when you won't blow your nose. And then Leb says, I'm sorry, I did not want to hurt your feelings. And Keb says, it's okay. What can I do?
Which one was the one that said, I'm sorry, the child with the runny nose, or the other?
The other one.
Okay, I can see it. Yeah.
Leb. Yeah, I switched the position. He's got the pointy hair.
Okay.
Leb does. Okay. And here, blow your nose. Okay, I will blow my nose. And then at the end of it, Keb, the other one, says, the one who originally had the runny nose says, oh no, Leb, now you need to blow your nose.
Okay.
So now that's not the original. I mean, we've been talking about this, and originally, well, go ahead and tell me what you think so far.
So far, well, no, I was, yeah, I did not know that you'd done a little bit of rewriting. And so, yeah, the originally, I was a little, I wanted to say something about the original one. You know, when you mentioned that it was called I Feel Disgusted When You Don't Blow Your Nose, I was saying that the purpose of nonviolent communication, principled negotiation, general mediation principles, all this stuff is that everything about it is probably to get the most non-defensive states going on in each person and the most cooperative team-based kind of feelings going on between them. And speaking of feelings, that feelings are a part of communication. So when the first time I heard the title, I think I said something like, even though that's well done, I don't think any child is not going to feel really bad if somebody says, I feel disgusted. If they walk up to you and say, I feel disgusted when you don't blow your nose.
Yeah, and I think what I had originally written was, you see the thing right here on this screen, but I feel sad when my nose won't stop running. That's one of your edits, because originally it didn't have Keb's feelings taken into account.
Right.
So I think that's what is problematic among children that age. I did a little reading on it, that kids from the ages of like 3 to 5 really don't have a filter. They're really good at expressing what disgusts them, but they're not very good at considering other people's feelings when you tell them that they are disgusted.
No, I think it is very, I agree. I mean, yes, I agree. It is very difficult to start to empathize with someone or care even about empathizing when your alarm system turns on, your internal emotional alarm system, fear, anger, all that stuff. Yeah, there's a cognitive filter that makes it where you would, based on our biology, want to get defensive, want to stop listening, maybe even get offensive. So there's a thing there too that that's different than I had in my head. I feel sad when my nose won't stop running. Now, there's no reason to change that, but since we're talking about the process, I figured that the kid would get stimulated into feeling crummy when the guy said, I cannot play I Feel Disgusted When You Won't Blow Your Nose. And so that the kid would feel sad about the fact that Leb said that.
Yeah, I want to put that in the book. I want that to be in the book, because I think that's
so you can put it wherever you want, and you don't even have to put it in the book. This is where I was envisioning that. Can you go back to Leb's first comment about the nose?
Well, that right there, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so, another thing to me is, I think you and I talked yesterday just over breakfast or something about sometimes the best thing to do is just so just for the audience, there's observations, feelings, needs, requests, which is OFNR, which means you can remember it by the acronym oftener, just making it into a word, oftener, almost like oftener, but
So really, this slide should be
there. No, I don't think. What I was about to say was that I was talking yesterday about sometimes it's better just to use one off OFNOR, just make an observation or a state of feeling or a need, which is an abstract thing that is like a very strong desire that anybody would understand having at some point or another, or a request, a behavioral request. So, for example, right here, I think he does a very good thing. Please blow your nose, Leb said. I actually think that's very good. I'll let you be the author about this, but actually, in some situations, if done with the right tone of voice, that might have finished the conversation and they might have been able to play, so it depends on how the kid said it. So you could have a 2-page book.
Yeah.
But charge the same. No.
I think it's a real issue though, in first grade, that's a lot of teachers will say, in first grade, you teach the children how to blow their nose. I mean, that is one of the things because they're not aware that what their body is doing has an effect on other people.
Right. Yes. Okay. That's a good point. And knowing what other people's effects might have, the effects they might have is the definition of empathy. So what do you want to do with it then? How do you like the way you've paneled it out?
Well, I think it's good the way, because I took advantage of your edits. I think what you said to me about disgust was really profound, about how disgust is such a driver in human society and humanity that we really need to address it. And when you told me that, I was like, wow, isn't that interesting? Because I've written so many books about different emotions, and the one that sells the most is How to Be Heebie-Jeebie Free, dealing with disgust. Because most people, what?
Is that the one with the used Band-Aid in it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's really gross. But people are struggling with how do you teach a child how to address disgust? How do you, first of all, what is disgust? That's one thing. But the thing this book I want to do is to look at how do you cope with disgust?
Right. The disgust is very strong because it's what it helps us go hog wild over wiping out a disease. It makes us, and that's why we've survived, because we don't like disease. We don't like signs of disease. When we see pus, we get disgusted. That saves our lives. When we taste some plant and we start to feel like vomiting, that saves our lives. We don't taste any more of it. We walk away from it. We imprint a very strong memory in it, so we can describe to the rest of our tribe, hey man, don't touch that one. And it also turns into, I believe, a tribalism, because in the old days, if we lived very separated and we had a lot of boundaries between each tribe, and they were not necessarily physical boundaries, but social emotional boundaries. We don't want to hang around with them unless we have to. Then what would that do? That would prevent the spread of disease from one tribe to another tribe. So wanting to feel not very pleasant feelings about diseases turns into a very useful urge to have terrible feelings about people who are different than us. So in this new modern world, though, we're always seeing people who are different than us. And even within a tribe in the old days, the disgust feeling would come up at times when it wasn't as useful. And then people would get in fights and things like that. So we kind of also with disgust, I think we start to be able to make something or someone less than human. We don't do it on purpose. It just happens. So that can explain things like racism, and it can explain things like certain types of wars, and it can explain things like genocide, and the way we, like, for example, the word criminal. When you think of a criminal, you think of a different type of person, someone from a different tribe or something from a different species. That's how powerful disgust is. And we don't want to get rid of our disgust or be ashamed of the feeling of disgust, because it has value. It has a job. All of our emotions can just sometimes come in at the wrong times and apply themselves the wrong way.
And then they are sitting on the bench talking to one another, and all of a sudden, Leb gets a runny nose. And then Keb says, "Oh no, Leb, now you need to blow your nose." And I put that at the end because I wanted people to realize that, none of us are without disgusting bodily functions.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah, and that's a very good point. That's almost a metaphor for it. Every bit of this is human, every bit of it. You know, the observation, everybody has, fortunately or unfortunately, their own take on a given situation based on their observations and their brain filter and what sense your brain makes of something. So everybody's observations are different. You can see that if like 11 people see a car accident, you can get 11 different stories from each person, a different story from each person. So feelings, of course, feelings just happen, basically. So they're going to be, somebody who sees someone with a runny nose might feel a different feeling.
And on that subject of the correct response, or I shouldn't really say correct response, but the best response to somebody who shares their feelings. I have a question about last week's book. Can I bring that one up real quick?
Yes, I do want to say, I don't think that, who's the kid with the runny nose originally?
The original one with the runny nose is Kev, the one on the left here.
Okay, so I believe his sadness did not get addressed. He said, "I'm sad when you tell me to blow my nose," but in the book, it doesn't look like it.
So okay, let's stay here then. Let's stay here. Okay, so well, he does say, "I'm sorry, I did not want to hurt your feelings." How do you address that?
Okay, well, I think that is a way, but it wasn't obvious to me. But then again, a lot of things aren't obvious. No.
Well, if it's not obvious to you, it's not going to be obvious to a first grader. So we want it to be as obvious as we can.
I don't know. You know me. Yeah. So let's see. That was the addressing of it, and so.
What would have been a better way to address it instead of saying?
Okay, you know what? I know why. Maybe that person who said, "I'm sorry, I did not want to hurt your feelings," might have been say, "Oh, is there something I can do?" Maybe that could have been
okay. Okay. See, and this is, as we do this, what is so amazing to me is that it's bringing out, it's what I wish I could have in real life, like have a therapist sitting beside me saying, "Oh, wait, stop. Don't say it like that." Because sometimes I just, it comes out of my mouth. I say the wrong things. And it's not, nobody has the intention to hurt anybody's feelings. Wait, let's go back to this though. So what should we say here?
I would have him basically be the first one to say, "What can I do?"
Okay.
As opposed to the other.
What can I do?
And that adds some symmetry to your dialogue.
Yes. Yes.
I'm in a weird mood today.
Well, I mean, this is really helping, really. And when I was teaching, I did the training for PeaceWorks and with a lot of other teachers, and we, had the eye care rules and all the things that you're supposed to do and supposed to say and how to make an I statement. And then they sent us into the classroom and the kids would ask us, "Well, how do you do this?" Or we would try to give them examples.
Right.
And I don't think, we always had one example of the two kids playing, and I feel sad when you take my toy. Yeah. And that's it, and what these books I hope to do is have a set of 20 different books that will give 20 different situations that can model appropriate use of saying your feelings and other people coping with it.
So you want to make this sort of a more 360-degree elaborated set of explanations and models for the kids. So
Yeah,
that they can
not
start.
explanation, but just modeling, so they can
Yeah.
see other people doing it, that they don't, and they're gonna be done in the shape of monsters, because I don't want any kind of attachment to any ethnic, racial, religious, anything, just monsters. Don't have a creed or religion or race.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, this process reminds me of how hard it is to even talk this way. Observations, feelings, needs, requests. When you close the door, and I'm coming into the house, I feel angry because I need recognition, and I want you to leave the door open for me when we're coming back into the house. There's so many things about that are difficult to do. First of all, it can sound formulaic right there. Second of all, we actually have to learn each part a lot more than we learn it. Making observations is all of this stuff we kind of blur through unconsciously,
And that's why I think it's important to teach at this stage of development.
Absolutely.
Because when you're 7 or 5 or 6, you are in the parrot stage of learning. So you learn stuff, and you're not you model. The moment you get exposed to something, a lot of times, like when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, every kid in kindergarten was running around the playground pretending to sword fight, because that's what Donatello did.
Yeah.
And that's what they saw it, they did. And it just became a gut part of what they were doing. So I think if we have these exposure to the kids at a very this age, they're going to start modeling it in their lives, just matter of factly.
Yeah.
Automatic.
They'll copy. That's a great way to learn. Watch and copy. Watch and imitate. That's I think children are using a lot of doing that a lot of their time, watching and copying. So did you say you wanted to show me a part of another book, or just show everybody?
Yeah, just real quickly, I want to just a second, I'll show you another one that this is based on the edits.
Oh, cool.
So it's
well, last comment.
You see how much has changed from last time?
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah. Wow.
Kev said, they were stick figures last week.
Yeah.
Kev said, look at Leb jump. Leb said, I can jump up here. Kev said, can we jump up there? Leb said, yes, you can jump up here. Come up here now. Kev said, I can jump up there. I can. Yes, I can. I can jump up here, Teb said. Kev said, now I can jump up there. Kev said, I can jump up here too. Eb said, I will try to jump. Eb said, oh no. Eb said, oh no, I cannot jump. Kev said, oh no, he cannot jump. Eb said,
something going on with your microphone.
Oh, there is. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Eb said, I cannot come up there. I feel embarrassed. Leb said, yes, you can. You can come up here. Eb said, no, I cannot jump. I will go now. I cannot go up now. Eb said, no, do not go. I can help you come up here. Eb said, I feel so embarrassed when I cannot jump. This is the problem. We need to address his feelings, don't we? Leb said, yes, I can help you come up. Here, come up here. Teb said, yes, come up here. Keb said, yes. Eb went up. Leb said, you can come up. Teb said, yes, come up here. Keb said, yes. Leb, Teb, Keb, and Eb all went up. Leb, Teb, and Keb all said, we can all be here now.
I like it. I think it's, I mean, it's very different too. And I feel like I'm saying trite things like it goes in order because we talked about how the panels looked off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes a lot more sense to me. I can understand how a kid would feel embarrassed, and that the other kids aren't in any way intentionally wanting them to feel embarrassed. That has nothing to do with it. Embarrassment's such a tough feeling.
My big question is, when he says, I feel embarrassed, they don't really acknowledge his feelings, but they give him a solution. I guess that's okay.
I have, and I just to sort of be two people to play devil's advocate and angel's advocate, I would say that, yeah, a lot of times you pick from the observations, feelings, needs, or requests, and you name one, or you ask the other person to name one. Or you can make an offering in a way to help someone. But one thing that does need to come in more when we need to make offers is, do we know enough to make an offer? Would it be better to ask a person, what can we do? Or what would you like us to do? But that's not a criticism. That's just an elaboration.
Yeah, but do you remember when you were little and you were playing? And I remember a lot of times when one of us got overwhelmed, we would just go home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like,
right. But he was leaving, and so they asked him not to go. Yeah. That could be very motivating. Yeah, it could be like they're cheering you on. I can't click to go. Let me see the rest.
Oh, yeah. That's the end.
Okay, that's cool. So I have a few questions about writing for children.
Okay.
Does the rhyming 3-letter names help children? Because I have trouble keeping track of who everybody is.
I'm going to ask my writers group that question today. I was wondering the same thing, but it was just easier for me as I was writing it. To do it fast.
Yeah.
But I could change it.
Yeah, those are like draft names. They're good to help you write the draft, and you can decide if you like them. Yeah. The other one I had was, I know that there are restricted lists of words that are advised for this age group. Is the yes and no? I noticed that yes and yes and yes was said a lot. Is that a common recommendation for children's books?
Yeah.
I know nothing about children.
Those are pre-primer words. So those are 2 of them right there. So and like the Sally Dick, the reason why I started this whole thing is because I was reading Sally, Dick, and Jane with a little black girl. Her mother had given her that book. And I was like, wow, this poor child. Because the kid didn't, it didn't look like her. And...
Yeah. I would want to ask you a question. Okay, like this 4 questions, and it's going to be, if you were just going to state an observation or a need, feeling, or a need or a request. The reason I'm asking you to do it is because my sinuses are bothering me and I can't think straight. Okay, if you were in, like, let's just say a situation like this, what would be, if you were just going to state an observation that you thought would be helpful, what would you state?
You mean at this point where he says he's embarrassed, you mean?
Yeah. Well, no, let's not do observation for this one. This is pretty obvious. I wish we could think of another situation. But what would be like, just to help people understand the definitions? Observations
I can see you feel embarrassed. Maybe I can help.
Mm-hmm. And I would add, I would do it as a 5 sensory. So I can see that your face looks sad to me, you know, in a sense, because this is silly, but it's going inside the person to say, I can see you feel embarrassed.
Oh, well,
Well,
maybe.
I hear you feel embarrassed. That's an observation. I hear you saying you're embarrassed.
That could maybe even here, like when Tab said, do not go. I can help you come up here. He doesn't even say it, but his body language certainly says it.
That's exactly right. He says, you do look sad to me, or you look depressed to me, or you look embarrassed to me, or whatever. I should say, though, don't take this as necessarily like, oh, this is going to be, I should change more and more, because one of the problems people get into with observations, feelings, needs, requests is that they become formulaic. And what I think you're trying to emphasize is that kids need to know emotion words and the context in which they seem to apply the best. And that's what you're doing. You're building up the emotional vocabulary and context, right?
Yes.
So you can ignore most of the observations and suggestions I make, because you're emphasizing the emotion words and what they look like when people use them.
Yeah, but this, like this edit I'm just doing now while you're talking. How about this? I mean, that's just 3 words.
It's like live action
Yeah,
dialogue.
live action editing. You
Typing.
look sad. No, do not go. I can help you come up here. That doesn't change it much, but it certainly does make him Teb observe.
Mhm, mhm. Yep.
You know what I could do is put on their little stomachs. I could put their name. That would be
that's
so
cool.
cute. Wouldn't that be cute? Oh, they're cute monsters, aren't they?
Yes. All right. Well, how do we know when we're close to closing time?
I think now should be a good time. So all in all, let's just reach out to the world and say, thank you for being here today. Don't forget to read the Emotatude books and watch Jim Porter's videos on YouTube. And try to listen more to others and consider other people's feelings. And when we